Okay, with that, we'll open our budget work session. However, the budget session, work session is a little different than our regular work sessions. So if you have a question or anything about the budget session, there's a sign up sheet over there. If you put your email down, we will get back to you with any questions that you have. Um, so who wants to start? Okay. We'll start with the well-liked department. Um, so if you want, I'll just go over some generals and then you can add to it if you want. Yeah. Okay. So when you see, you have two different versions of the budget. One is the Munis printout, which gives you the details on the breakdown of personnel. And then you have the Excel version, which basically gives you a very short, this went up, this went down kind of version. Um, so Patrick is in charge of both the recreation budget, which is huge in terms of everything that he does, and his personnel. But also the pool. So he's got two budgets to deal with. Um, so if you look, it's really just Patrick, his two people, right? So if you look at the Munis version, it goes the breakdown of their labor. And then, of course, his budget is probably the most complicated budget simply because there's a lot going on. So there's a lot of different notations. If you take a few minutes and go through it, he does a combination. He does a lot of things. He does tons of stuff. Thank you very much for all that you do. So he does both events, so Halloween events, Christmas events. So you'll see notations in terms of that. But most of the stuff, of course, is the summer recreation program. And what in in explaining to me, we went over everything line by line, and he was amazingly patient with me. But in going over it, some key points to keep in mind is that when they create a class, um, they go on speculation on interest, and generally when they have a program or a class or an activity or an event in the summer, there's a fee involved, and then it normally lands up paying for itself. So when you see it take a couple of minutes and go through it, but you'll see all the different classes that he has. And what is not reflected in the Munis version, it's in a separate part of the budget, is the income that is generated. So when you see at the bottom with the totals, it's really not the actual totals because a lot of it is offset by the program activities and activity fees. Um, so I'll give you a few minutes to go through it. There's a lot there. We'll into the pool separately, but I can just say, while you're reading, that I want to thank Patrick. You do amazing job. Um, Kelsey and Dulcie as well, above and beyond, all three of you, um, in making all of these classes and programs, um, really fantastic for everybody involved. In hiring all the personnel, as we all know, in the and making it all happen. So thank you for your work. But it is a lot to absorb. So
A quick question.
mhm,
So the fees that come in,
mhm.
during this process, do we see that? Maybe that's a question for Nick. When will we see that number?
Well, do you have a do you have the fees offhand? Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to
It'd be good
finalize.
to see.
Yeah, we're not going to finalize. We're just taking the time
Right,
to go
right.
over each section of the budget. And I know Patrick actually has a handout in regards, so we will get that. Um, so was it projected for 2025 like 180,000, something in that neighborhood for income? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yep, no, very good. But what he was explaining to me, for those of us that are new to it, was when they try out a class, if it's successful, fantastic. If it's not, they may even wait for a following year. If it doesn't catch on, then it does not get picked up again. And this year we had the issue, we did a late hire because one of the programs was very popular. One of the classes was very popular and he was able to expand it. And they actually made a profit on it. So they're right in adjusting as they go and as needed. And it's a lot of work involved. So once again, thank you. So does anybody have any questions on that? And as you see go through and you see something went up or something's going down, they're adjusting the number of classes that they're holding. Again, we went through it line by line. Some things are set costs, such as contracts for printers and stuff like that. And that's a given. But again, we went over everything.
Well, Patrick, maybe I can ask you, I'm new here. So, right. Um, a lot of the programs are athletic sport related. A lot of them, back in my day, I would associate with the school. Are we doubling up on what they're doing? Because we're doing it in the summer when school's not in, obviously. But I also saw a line where we pay the school for use of their facilities, about $10,000.
Yeah, so I don't think, if we sign the agreement with the school, whenever that, we're not gonna pay the school.
Yeah, but the town is providing services for the school in exchange. So it's going to be a non-payment, but it's an exchange of services.
That line may go down a whole
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
lot. Once, it's just in there now, because, that was sort of the talk that had been happening beforehand.
Mhm.
As we submitted it, but if we hammer out the contract and the agreement. that-
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's soon. It's to us and it's with Dan Reynolds.
Yeah.
So they were tweaking, he was working on tweaking the wording, just to make sure it fits, but we should have the agreement in place. And it's going to be mutual agreed that we provide services for them and they don't charge us for the use of the facilities. But in the event that that is not worked out, we have to maintain it in the budget until that time. So we got to make sure the contract is finalized before we take that line out of the budget.
Okay, and we're looking at that happening before we get to the final budget stage.
Oh, yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. We have until the end of October for this
Yes,
version of the budget, and then
absolutely.
we have one more version to go.
I know we're right at the
Yeah.
very beginning here, right?
Yep.
Right.
So we can adjust after that. Yep.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But we want the contract in place first. Otherwise, we want to make sure our recreation program happens no matter what. So. And as you can see, there's tons of classes. And if you look at all the different categories, and you can read it better in the Excel than you can with the Munis version. The Munis version gives the details, but the Excel version gives you the complete wording in each line, so that's much more readable. So you can tell me what volleyball is or whatever the class is. There's all different kinds of classes, and they are expanding all the time, including non sports related classes, all of which like an acting class, right?
Yeah.
And mhm. Yeah, and I think it's great for for all different interests. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so we'll Sue, do you have any questions? Okay, so once again, the three of you do an absolutely fantastic job. We have to get to your pool budget. And then so the pool budget, basically pool did spectacularly once again this year. This is not indicative of the fees that were collected. Um, do you know offhand how much in fees it was? It's okay. We can get them that data. But regardless, so if you look at the breakdown of the labor and the salaries, it's really just personnel. So you need lifeguards, you need relief lifeguards, and the actual physical costs of running it, which is anywhere from the water bill. Um, just meet the actual maintenance for it, uniforms, chlorine. Really, it's a very simple budget. Oh, thank you. And the fees for using the pool are very low. It was very well used this summer and it was a big hit, which is fantastic. Any questions about this? Any question, Robert? Okay. Once again, as always, you do a fantastic job. So thank you very much. Fantastic summer recreation program. But I know you have activities throughout the year as well, right? So thank you again. Anything else you want to put forward?
I mean, so you go through either of the budgets, anything, especially the classes or the labor in the pool budget. The big increase for labor in the pool budget is bringing some of things back to what it used to be. It's all covered by revenue. The same thing with the rec side. Any of the increases in labor or expenses for the classes are all covered by corresponding revenue increases. And actually, if I did the math correctly, each budget, when you include the revenue, is actually asking for less money this year than last year. Even though the expense side went up, the revenue side went up more than the expense side. So actually, the last year budget hit for both. Not by a lot, right? A couple $1,000.
The bottom line was that.
But
That's huge. So the same number of people
yeah,
handling even more every year. Yep. And you guys do a fantastic job. I know you work really hard. So that's great. Thank you for pointing that out. And the expansion of the swim program, of course, is very important for kids in terms of their ability to literally save themselves when need be. It's hugely important. So if there's nothing else, thank you so much for coming and thank you for your work. And please thank Kelsey and Dulcie as well. And I know that you were looking into new ideas coming forward, but we'll talk to the board about that some other time. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Have a great evening. Thank you for coming. this short day. Mhm. Thank you. Okay, so you want to move on to human resources? Okay, just very quickly. So human resources is very short and sweet. Salaries are 66.8% down, going from full-time to part-time. And professional services, what the increase in cost was for the ads. So Debbie has done this absolutely spectacular job getting the personnel that Craig and Scott and everybody needed to fill the slots that they have not been able to fill for a long time, and they've always struggled with. So, oh, you lowered it? So down to 500? Oh, great. Hmm. Oh, that's fantastic. Hmm. Wow. Thank you very much. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay, thank you. So 1,050 less? Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much for finding the personnel that Craig and Scott and everybody needed, because it's hugely important, and spending so much time and effort on finding a second IT person. I know it's yes, it's a lot of effort involved, but I know that our department heads are very happy with it. They're very happy to be fully staffed. And thank you very much for doing all of that. So does anybody have any? I don't think there's anything to complain about. Um, so thank you so much. Thank you for all your work. Much appreciated. Um, okay, so with that, so that's all of our budget for today. Does anybody have any other discussion on the budget related matters? Okay, with that, we'll wrap up the budget meeting. Okay, if anybody from the public has any questions, there's a sign up sheet on the side, and we'll get back to you by email. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Um, I don't know. It's like an informal one. Did you do it in the past? Mhm. Okay, thank you. And seconded? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so we'll wrap it up.